So we certainly had a great time exploring grilling for the 1 week of grilling episodes that we did, called Grilling Week, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. But I was very adamant in the fact that grilling is not barbecue. And even though you might have backyard barbecues and you're cooking up hot dogs and hamburgers on the grill, that isn't really barbecue. So today we are going to kick off a 1 week exploration in barbecue and barbecue cooking technique. Today's sponsor is Bear Paw Products, and you can check them out online at bearpawproducts.com. Bear Paw Products make bear paws, and they're really true to their name. They're these utensils that look a lot like the paws of a grizzly bear. These products are perfect for pulling pork. They're great for handling cumbersome objects of food, like removing a turkey or a ham from your oven and it's hot and you got to bring it over to your countertop. Or let's say you're trying to carve something like a giant watermelon for, a summertime barbecue. As a pulled pork eater, I can tell you that it was very easy to pull pork with them. So you can check them out online at bearpawproducts.com. You can get them on Amazon.com and a bunch of other web retailers. And we are going to give away a pair of bear paws. The way that you can get them is by going to danieldelaney.com/bearpaws, and you can enter to win. We're going to be giving them away on the 5th of July, so enter quickly. And check them out online at bearpawproducts.com. Alright, so let's get into this. Barbecue 101. I think it's only fair to start off with a definition. What is barbecue, or at least how do I define barbecue? Now, I know that a lot of cultures have their own versions of barbecue. There's Korean barbecue, Chinese barbecue, the Spanish have their own version of barbecue, and it really kind of traces through all different forms and cultures in different regions of the world. But when I'm talking about barbecue, I'm talking about the process of cooking something like a meat or poultry or fish for a long period of time using indirect heat that is transferred through a thick smoke. The history of barbecue is kind of vague, and it comes from different regions of the world. Many people believe that modern Southern American barbecue has its roots from the Caribbean. It came up into Florida and then sort of spread its way out pre-Civil War through the southern United States. And the first thing that people were cooking in America was most likely pork. The reason that people were cooking pork is that the Spaniards brought pork over, and they were used to roasting it and doing other techniques. The Native Americans and the people from Southern America started to introduce slow smoking techniques to the pork, and modern barbecue was born. Barbecue really took a strong hold during the Civil War, when much of the southern United States was devastatingly poor. When protein came to town, usually in the form of a pig, it had to be consumed from the nose to the tail. Nothing could be wasted. So the technique that they used to cook the pig was a slow smoking process, which allowed for the meat to be evenly cooked, and they could really salvage all of the pig. People would get together and congregate and eat and share all of this food. In Louisiana, they called this a boucherie, but basically it was the first backyard barbecue, or at least the precursor to the modern backyard barbecue. People would get together, share food, and have a good time. After the Civil War, the concept of barbecue really had a strong hold, and it spread its way all throughout the southern part of the United States, each region adopting its own local variation, although there were some consistencies among all the regions. Generally, the type of meats that people would smoke were not necessarily the highest cuts of meat. They weren't the prized cuts of meat, they weren't the loin or the T-bone steak. People were using cuts of meat that had a bit more gristle, a bit more fat, and a bit more connective tissue. These pieces of meat worked really well because the slow smoke and slow heat would allow all of the connective tissue and fat to kind of melt away and break down, rendering a piece of meat that would be inedible if cooked quickly to be actually really delicious. Today there are numerous types of barbecue in the United States, and it really varies region to region. If you're in North Carolina, there are 2 different regions of barbecue. One region primarily uses a vinegar-based sauce on the barbecue. Another region uses ketchup. If you're in Memphis or parts of Kansas, they use a dry rub on top of the barbecue and then finally put some wet barbecue sauce on at the end. If you're in Texas, they use beef brisket and sausage as their primary meat, and they have a very simple slow smoking technique. Kentucky uses mutton. It's different region to region, and we'll explore those different regions and their own techniques in future episodes of What's This Food? Barbecue Week. So a little bit more on the technique. When I talk about barbecue, I talk about the process of smoking meat. What does that mean? Barbecue is the process of taking some sort of meat and using some moisture and some smoke to slowly impart both heat and flavor into the meat over a long period of time. Unlike grilling, barbecue keeps the meat or whatever you're smoking away from the heat source. There are different types of smokers. One traditional type of smoker is called the offset smoker, where all of the combustible materials are stored in a small firebox off to the side of the smoker. Another traditional type of smoker is a bullet smoker, in which the meat, water tray, and heat source are all stacked vertically, with a tray of water that's placed in between the meat and the heat source to diffuse the heat and also catch drippings. If you're going out to buy a smoker, my suggestion for you is to find and buy the biggest smoker that you can fit and afford. I believe that keeping your meat far away from your heat source and also providing a large chamber for the heat to be evenly diffused in is going to produce the best barbecue products. The size of your smoker also helps indicate your level of manliness and prowess over your neighborhood, so get the largest smoker possible. Today I'm going to show you how simple it is to make a piece of pulled pork. If I had to tie this to one region, I would say that it's closest to the way pork is prepared in North Carolina. First, take a pork shoulder that has the skin removed. The cut of meat might also be called the Boston butt or the picnic roast. Liberally cover the shoulder in non-iodized sea salt and let it rest for about an hour. While it's resting, build your fire. Add charcoal to your chimney until it's glowing hot and add it to your smoker. I have an offset smoker, so I added it to the smoke box, then added some soaked wood. I'm using hickory, and I soaked my wood overnight, which allows the heat of the wood to actually come to a higher temperature, and it kind of smolders, letting off smoke. If you have access to fresh wood, as in wood that just came off the tree, that's a great source because it has a lot of moisture in it already. Once you have a good amount of smoke going, place your shoulder in the smoker and keep it closed. Use the thermometer on your smoker to regulate the temperature and keep it around 225 degrees. If the temperature is too hot, you want to close off your air vents because too much air is getting to your fire and it's burning too hot. If it's too cold, you want to open up more air vents so more air and oxygen gets in and the fire can breathe. If after opening up your vents it's still not heating up, you don't have enough fuel. The pork will be done after 10 to 12 hours depending on the size of shoulder that you purchased. Generally, the cook time is about an hour and a half for each pound of meat. You'll know it's done when the bone can be pulled out with little to no effort. At this point, let it rest in foil for about an hour and then pull it. I'm using the bear paws to pull the pork. So that's a little bit about barbecue and a simple way to prepare pulled pork. Tune in tomorrow for another What's This Food. Check out our sponsor, bearpawproducts.com. And if you want to win a pair of bear paws, go to danieldelaney.com/bearpaws to enter. I will see you tomorrow.